You wake up on your 25th birthday. Nothing feels different. You brush your teeth, you look in the mirror, same face as yesterday. But this morning, somewhere in your cells, something quietly switches off. Your body has just stopped aging, not stopped living, not stopped changing, just stopped growing older. What would that actually mean? At first, you would not notice anything. Aging is slow. It hides in years, not days. But give it time, and the world around you keeps moving while you do not. Your friends get their first gray hairs. You do not. Your knees still ache the same way they did last year. Not worse, just the same. Isn't that strange? A body frozen in its prime, still living every single day. To understand why this matters, you need to understand what aging actually is. Scientists call it senescence. That is simply the gradual breakdown of your cells over time. Every time a cell divides, the protective caps on your chromosomes, called telomeres, get a little shorter. Eventually, they get so short that cells stop dividing properly. Damage builds up. Repair slows down. That is aging in its simplest form. Now imagine your telomeres stopped shortening. Your cells keep repairing themselves as efficiently as they did at 25. Forever. The first month feels almost like nothing happened. Your skin holds its elasticity. Small wounds heal at the same brisk pace they always did. You catch a cold and you recover in days, just like always. But somewhere around month 6, you start noticing the world reacting to you differently. Coworkers who started the same year as you begin to look older in photos. You do not. People ask if you use some new skincare routine. You do not know what to tell them. Here is where the science gets interesting. Researchers who study centenarians, people who live past 100, have found something surprising. Many of them are not just lucky. Their bodies show more efficient DNA repair mechanisms and lower levels of chronic inflammation than average. In other words, real biological pathways already exist that slow the effects of aging. Your hypothetical body would simply be running these processes at maximum efficiency, permanently. Not magic, just biology, dialed all the way up. But would this actually be good for you? Let's slow down and think about it. Aging is not only decline, it's also part of how your body regulates its own risks. Cells that grow old and stop dividing are often cells that could otherwise become dangerous. This process is called senescence, and it acts like a safety switch, forcing damaged cells to retire before they multiply out of control. If your cells refuse to retire, you get one clear benefit: fewer worn-out tissues. But you also remove one of your body's natural defenses against cells that misbehave. Without that safety switch working normally, your risk of certain cancers could actually rise, not fall. A body that stops aging is not automatically a body that becomes safer. It becomes different, in ways that carry their own trade-offs. Now scale this up. What if this did not just happen to you? What if it happened to everyone on Earth, all at once, the same year they turned 25? Within a decade, global population math changes completely. Death rates from aging-related disease begin to fall. People stop dying from the frailty that usually comes after 80 or 90. Meanwhile, birth rates do not slow down to match. Suddenly, the planet is holding on to nearly every person it has ever added, with almost none leaving through natural aging. Demographers who study population growth already warn that a rapidly aging or rapidly stabilizing population reshapes economies in ways most systems were never built to handle. Now imagine a population that simply never leaves. Retirement as a concept stops making sense. Why would you retire at 65 if your body works exactly like it did at 25? Pension systems, built on the assumption that people age and eventually stop working, would need to be redesigned from scratch. Housing markets, built on the assumption that older generations eventually free up space, would face permanent pressure. Every system humans built around the rhythm of birth, aging, and death would need to be rethought because the rhythm itself just changed. Here's the twist most people don't expect. A body that stops aging is not a body that stops needing food, sleep, or protection. You would still need to eat. You would still get hungry, tired, injured. A car accident could still kill you. A virus your immune system has never encountered could still be dangerous. Stopping the aging clock does not stop the clock on accidents, disease, or violence. It only removes one specific cause of decline, which means statistically, most people would still eventually die, just from something other than old age. Think about what that does to how people make decisions. When aging was the ultimate deadline, it quietly pushed people toward urgency. Get married sooner, have children sooner, build a career before your body slows down. Remove that deadline, and human behavior itself might shift. Some psychologists who study long-term motivation suggest that having a clear endpoint often increases how much people value their time. Without that biological endpoint, would people still feel the same pull to act now rather than later? Or would everything, from relationships to careers, start moving in slow motion, stretched across decades instead of years? There's also a quieter, more personal question buried inside all of this. If your body stays 25 forever, does your mind stay 25 too? Neuroscientists already know that the brain changes throughout life, not just physically, but in how it processes emotion, risk, and memory. Older adults, on average, show different patterns of emotional regulation than younger adults, often becoming better at managing negative emotions with age. If your body never grows old, but your mind still accumulates 70, 80, 100 years of memory and experience, you would become something science has never actually studied. A 25-year-old body wrapped around a mind shaped by a full century of living. Let's go even further into the body itself, because the effects would not stay the same across every organ. Your muscles, for instance, rely on stem cells to repair small tears from everyday movement. In a normally aging body, these stem cells become less active over time, which is part of why strength and recovery slow down in later life. If that stem cell activity stayed locked at its 25-year-old level, your muscles would keep repairing at peak efficiency for decades. You could train just as hard at 70 as you did at 25 and recover just as fast. Athletes would no longer retire because their bodies wore down. They would retire only when they chose to. Your bones tell a similar story. Bone density typically peaks in your 20s and slowly declines afterward, which is part of why fractures become more common later in life. A body that never leaves this peak would carry a skeleton that stays strong indefinitely. Osteoporosis, one of the most common conditions in aging populations, might simply stop appearing at all. But here's where things get complicated again. Your brain is not like your muscles or your bones. Certain brain functions, like processing speed, may naturally shift with age, while other functions, like accumulated knowledge and emotional regulation, tend to improve. If your body's aging clock stops, but your brain keeps forming new memories and experiences for decades, you are left with a strange mismatch. A brain still growing in wisdom and depth, housed inside a body that insists it is still 25. Would you think the way a 25-year-old thinks? Or would 80 years of memory eventually reshape your instincts and behavior no matter what your body looked like? Now widen the lens again, back out to the whole world. Because medicine itself would face a strange new problem. Doctors currently use age as one of the most basic tools for understanding risk. A cardiologist expects certain heart conditions to appear more often after 50. An oncologist screens more aggressively for certain cancers after 60. Entire diagnostic systems are built around the assumption that risk increases in predictable patterns as the body ages. If every patient's biological age freezes at 25, this entire framework collapses. A person who is chronologically 90 but biologically 25 does not fit any existing model. Doctors would need entirely new ways to measure risk because the one variable medicine has always trusted, the number of years a body has aged, would no longer mean anything at all. Economists would face an equally strange puzzle. Life insurance, for example, calculates its pricing almost entirely around expected lifespan, which is itself calculated from aging-related mortality. If aging-related death nearly disappears, but accidents, violence, and disease remain, insurance models would need to be rebuilt from the ground up. The same is true for healthcare systems, which currently spend a large share of their resources treating conditions linked to old age. Remove those conditions, and healthcare spending patterns would shift dramatically toward the causes of death that remain: accidents, infections, and unpredictable illness. Now, bring it back to you, standing in front of that same mirror, except decades have passed. Your friends have aged around you. Some are gone. The face in the mirror has not changed at all, but you have. Every memory, every loss, Every year of experience has still been added to who you are, even if it never touched your skin. So what if your body stopped aging at 25? It would not stop your life from moving forward. It would not remove risk or loss or time itself. It would only change the shape of your body's story, while the story of your mind kept writing itself anyway. Maybe aging was never really about the body slowing down at all. Maybe it was always about how a mind carries the weight of everything a body leaves behind. You look in the mirror one more time. Same face as the day this all began, but you know now, you were never really the one standing still.